So AI is moving faster than ever, but what does that really mean? Well, we're going to break it all down. We've dug through the massive 2025 Stanford AI Index report to pull out the key things you absolutely need to know. We're talking about the incredible progress, yeah, but also the surprising failures and the very real risks we're all facing now. So, let's just dive right in.
Okay, so what was the biggest story of the past year? I mean, without a doubt, it was the absolute explosion in generative AI. We saw the launch of these totally mind-blowing video models. OpenAI's Sora, Stable Video, Google's Veo 2. These are models that can create scenes so realistic, it's getting really hard to tell the difference between what's real and what's not.
And look, this creative leap, it's really just the tip of the iceberg. The pace of progress in AI isn't just fast anymore, it feels like it's accelerating, pushing into areas we always thought were, just for humans.
Yeah, and it's not just about art and video, not by a long shot. The newest models, like OpenAI's O3, are breaking records in these super specialized fields. We're talking about tackling problems at a PhD level, in science, in mathematics. This is a whole new kind of analytical power we're dealing with.
So this all brings up a really important question. As these systems get more and more powerful, how do we even measure how smart they are? And trust me, it's not a simple answer. See, their abilities are, well, they're not even. Researchers have this great term for it, the jagged frontier. It means an AI can be an absolute genius at one thing and then completely clueless at another. And it all comes down to how they learn, right? They learn from patterns in data, so they can become superhuman at tasks where they've seen a million examples, but then you throw a totally new problem at them, something that needs real common sense or a spark of creativity, and they just fall flat.
So the big question is, how do we actually map that jagged frontier? How can we be sure these models are learning new skills and not just, remembering what they were trained on? Well, the answer is pretty old school, actually. Standardized testing. Right, so in the world of AI, these tests are called benchmarks, and you can basically think of them as SATs for machines. They give us a kind of gold standard, so researchers can compare different models on the exact same problems. It creates this leaderboard, to track how AI is progressing.
And believe me, we're not talking about simple multiple-choice questions here. These modern benchmarks are designed to test for a much deeper understanding. Like, on the left, you're asking the model to explain the reasoning behind what's going on in a picture. And on the right, you're testing if it can figure out abstract patterns from just a handful of examples. That's a huge test of its ability to generalize, to really think.
And on some of these tests, wow, AI is already performing at superhuman levels. Just take a look at the Med-QA benchmark. This is based on questions from U.S. medical board exams. In just a single year, the top AI score jumped to 96%. That's way beyond what most human doctors score.
But then, you get this. It's a benchmark called Humanity's Last Exam, and it's full of creative, totally out-of-the-box problems. And here, the most advanced AI scores a measly 8.8%. Meanwhile, the average human? Over 60%. That is the jagged frontier in action, plain and simple.
Okay, so we've got this picture of AI as this brilliant but kind of inconsistent genius. So let's take this idea out of the lab and into the real world. How are these spiky, uneven skills actually being used out there? Let's take a look at how AI is already changing our jobs, our industries, and the entire global economy.
So no surprise, technical fields like computer science are way out in front. But look at this. The second biggest slice is arts and design. That's huge. Creative professionals are jumping on these tools like crazy, and right behind them are educators and business folks. The takeaway here? AI is definitely not a niche technology anymore.
And this race to adopt AI, it's happening all over the world, and it is intense. I mean, just look at this number. In 2023 alone, China installed more than 7 times the number of industrial robots as the United States. Just let that sink in for a second. This is a massive, coordinated national push for AI and automation. And believe me, it is completely reshaping global supply chains as we speak.
Okay, but all of this incredible progress in adoption, it's got a flip side, a dark side. Because the same technologies that let us create amazing art and run efficient factories, well, they also open the door to some pretty profound new risks and challenges for all of us.
And we're not talking about some abstract, far-off threat. This stuff is deeply personal. For one 15-year-old student, it became terrifyingly real when a classmate used an app to create fake nude images of her and her friends. It's a stark reminder of how easily this tech can be turned into a weapon for harassment, and the consequences for real people are absolutely devastating.
And when you scale that up from personal harm to the risk for an entire society, the stakes, they become existential. I mean, as this table shows, we're talking about a threat to the very foundations of democracy. Just think about it for a second. You've got fabricated content for blackmail and sabotage. You've got this erosion of trust where we can't even tell what's real anymore. You've got micro-targeted ads designed to manipulate voters on an emotional level. And you've got fake endorsements from celebrities or politicians. Any one of those is a serious threat. All of them together, it's a whole new ballgame.
And look, this isn't theoretical. It's already happening. During the recent presidential election in Mexico, this AI-generated image of a Starbucks cup was spread around to create a totally false impression that the company was backing a specific candidate. It's simple, sure, but it's a really effective way to push a fake story.
But maybe the most chilling discovery of all is just how systemic these risks are becoming. Researchers recently found a vulnerability they call an infectious jailbreak. Okay, so here's how it works. They figured out that a single, carefully crafted malicious image doesn't just trick one AI. No. When that AI then interacts with other AIs in its network, it actually passes on the infection, causing them to start ignoring their safety rules too. It's basically a digital virus that can spread exponentially, and it could compromise millions of systems all from one single starting point.
So you have this explosion of capabilities on one hand, and this explosion of risks on the other. And that has kicked off a global race for safety. Right now, nations all over the world are scrambling to figure out how to govern this technology, how to make sure it's developed in a way that's safe and actually helps people.
And for really the first time, we are starting to see a coordinated international response. Major world powers, the US, the UK, Japan, the EU, and many others are launching these interconnected AI safety institutes. And the goal is for them to all work together on testing new models, assessing the risks, and hopefully creating some real standards for managing this incredibly powerful new tech.
And so, all of this leaves us with one huge final question. We are clearly getting better and better at building more powerful AI. There's no doubt about that. But are we getting any better at building the wisdom, the foresight, and the cooperation we're going to need to manage it? That, I think, is the defining challenge of our time.